Hello!
You know, people often stop me in the street and say, Stephen, back when video games came on cassettes, what sort of packaging did they have? And I say, my name's not Stephen. And they say, oh, sorry, I thought you were somebody else. And then I never see them again. Anyway, I thought I'd answer that question anyway. So let's have a look at some of the miscellaneous games I have on my shelf of miscellaneous old games and see what sort of packaging they used to put cassette tapes in. Because I tell you what, it wasn't until I was actually moving them around the other day I realised just what an incredible range of things they would shove these cassette tapes into to make them, well, jump off the shelf more and into your pocket. So, we will begin with the obvious. Most of these, by the way, are going to be Sinclair ZX Spectrum games, because that's most of what I've got on the shelf. Look, it's Horace Go Skiing, back from 1982. Needs only 16 kilobytes of RAM. And that's Horace. Horace, an early sort of, one of the very first sort of video game mascots, I suppose. Very old story. The man who created him just sort of disappeared off the face of the earth, and nobody seems to know what happened to him. There's somebody with a similar name who teaches at university, but is actually a different person. And I don't know what Horace is. Nobody knows what Horace is. It looks like a man who's had most of his arms pulled off, his head removed, and has got two massive shotgun blasts to his chest. It's best not to think too much on Horace. But Horace Go Skiing, very popular game back in the day, and a lot of horrible dust on the top. Oh dear, that's been stored somewhere bad before I put it on the shelf. But yes, back in 1982, you could play Horace Go Skiing just by typing in load skiing. Also, somebody's written stuff on the tape. Don't know why. Does this tape still work? No idea, but I tell you what, the case still does. Yeah, just basic cassette case. You know the sort. It's made of plastic. This bit's translucent, that bit isn't. These would often come in a variety of different colours, those bits, to stand out from the others. And away you go, the most basic form of cassette tape. Because, of course, that's what they used for audio cassettes. Look, it's Shakin' Stevens. The Welsh Elvis. Welshvis with The Bop Won't Stop, which is a shame because he really needed it to stop to go to bed, and he died of lack of sleep. It's a horrible story. Yeah, you just go and buy your cassette single, which I think this is an album actually. Yeah, there's multiple tracks on it, and there you go. The reason I've got this on the shelf is it actually does contain a ZX Spectrum game. I shit ye not, friends. Includes free Shaky computer game program, Shaky being sort of his nickname, for Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Yep, you could actually load it in and it's some weird maze game, and a terrible digitised picture of Shakin' Stevens appears in it occasionally and says things like, oh dear, a bat bit you. That's not a joke, that's actually in the game. It's absolutely amazing. And years later, well, I say years later, not that much later really, these sort of became generally more clear. They replaced the opaque back bit with a transparent back bit, and then they could have like wrap around stuff. This is one that wasn't sold retail. You had to send away, I think I had to send away packets of Smith's crisps to get this. My sister got it for me many, many years ago back in the day. It's Super Champs. It's just like a sort of enduro racery, sort of into the screen racing game with various different vehicles. Based on some sort of TV show that I don't remember that all these pictures are from. Do you think that kid got royalties when they used his photo from the programme on this? I'll bet he never even knew. And if he's watching it now, he'll be furious. But yeah, is it annoying? Shouldn't that read down rather than up? Frustrating. Anyway, irrelevant. The fact remains, these things were an absolute mainstay for years. And yeah, budget games would appear in them even when the more expensive full-price games were being released in larger boxes, which we will see shortly. I did discover this, which has got to be the most basic form of cassette tape thing. This must have come in a bigger box or something at some point. You can't tell me there was literally just a tape in a plastic thing with no other information. But there we are. British Lowland for the Spectrum 48K. Cases Computer Simulations Limited, K.A. Wells. This strikes me as something slightly edutainmentable, something that's maybe would have been sold to a school. I don't know, maybe that's why there's no packaging. I genuinely don't know, but fascinating. I don't recall ever seeing one of those before. Didn't even know I had it on the shelf because I bought a big box of stuff at some point in the past. Now we're going to slip over a little bit to the Commodore 64 side now. In America, Commodore 64 games generally distributed on disc. In the UK, generally on tape. And look, it's Punchy, a game I had on the Spectrum and was bad. I didn't even know there was a C64 version of this till relatively recently. Nasty Punch has locked Judy in the Punch and Judy booth. That's a great sentence for anyone who is not familiar with the bizarre British Cyto tradition of Punch and Judy. Let's get the dust off the top of the case before we open it. So yeah, bigger, far more protective, but more to the point, far flashier and larger vacuum-formed plastic tape. It sort of rips and it's snapped in the middle there through age, but you get the idea. The tape fits very snugly in there. I can remember a few games sort of coming on these, but these didn't last that long. I don't remember these being used particularly. A lot of early Commodore 64 games were released on them, and it certainly wasn't only Commodore 64 stuff. I don't remember having a Spectrum game on it. There probably were. But if you look, see the Memotech 500 game, Maxima. That's bloody obscure. I'll go to a video on that at some point. I do have one. Maxima, an evil race of mutant aliens, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's basically like a cheap knockoff of the Commodore case. Because if you look, this is all like horrible cheap plastic, which isn't even flat. I mean, I dare say this wouldn't have been flat even at the time. I don't think this is something that's happened over time. Just they were horrible and cheap and not made very well. But interestingly, inside is your standard plastic case as well. So it actually holds the entire case of a tape instead of just the tape itself. Seems a bit of a waste. I mean, that's plenty protective enough. You don't need another case on the inside, do you? Those crazy Memotech kids. If anybody watching this actually had a Memotech 512 or something, which looks a bit like a sort of stealth black Commodore with a metal case, as any way I can describe it, have a mention in the comments. I'd be interested to see if anybody actually did have one. And don't lie, because we'll know. Right. Then let us move along to the land of cardboard boxes, because of course everything comes in a bloody cardboard box at some point. One of the earlier ones was this jolly, slightly damaged thing here. A lot of companies use these. I think Ultimate Play the Game was sort of one of the biggest proponents of them. This game, Gift from the Gods, that I, for some reason, specifically remember buying for £2 from CEX in Thetford about 4 years ago. I've no idea why I remember that. But yes, this game has a very interesting history that we will not go into here. But, oh look, you see, you've got all this room now for your keyboard controls. You haven't got to write things on your cassette inlay anymore. Oh no, they can fall out and you can lose them. And yeah, vacuum-formed plastic insert with your tape in. You get the idea. But yeah, looks a bit posher on the shelf, I suppose. Not very good if you're storing it that way, because you can't see what it is. These never had stickers on the spines, from what I remember. I've got another one of these where all the stickers have come off, and it's just like a blank case. Can't remember what's in it now. Probably because the stickers came off. But also, from the year 1984, here's something which was definitely trying to stand out on the shelf. Bloody great bright yellow box from Beyond. Challenging software. Cytron. Disruptor unstable, detonation imminent, runs on the Spectrum. Disruptor unstable, detonation imminent, right, that's sort of flavour text from the game, isn't it? Runs on the Spectrum. I don't think you should be running your fictional stuff into your factual stuff. That seems very odd, but there we are. But Cytron was produced for Beyond by Sci-Sci. Sci-Sci. Thank you, Weird Robot, for telling us that. Oh yeah, all your screenshots on the back. Look, goodness knows what this game is. Less than human, far more than mere computer. It's Mentat, I don't know. Right, this one slides out. Look at that. And then inside, you've got your big flashy manual. See, this would have been a premium price. Oh, look at this. All the stuff you have to learn for a game that's probably no fun, because there seems to be this unwritten rule for old Spectrum software that the more stuff came with it and the more complicated it was, the more sort of inscrutable it was. But not a hard and fast rule, but I think it's a general one in my experience. And then, of course, your vacuum form tray, because it's the law. Right, you can get back in there. And we are going to skip ahead to 1985. So we've come on a couple of years now, and you're going to be very familiar with this if you had a computer back at the time. These little, very robust tape cases. Cool. Bloody hell, that's been on the shelf a while. This is Saboteur from Durrell with the infamously stolen artwork on the cover. Again, that's a story for another day. Very good game, this. Still enjoy playing the first level every so often, which I still remember how to get through. I don't know why. So basically, oh yeah, difficult ones to open, but your tape just sits in on the markers like that, and there you go. Nice and simple, very protective, looks nice on the shelf, or at least it would if the spine wasn't covered in a massive horrible barcode that's actually printed on. Let's not think about that too much. But yeah, this was a very common game case for some time. They'd come in all different sorts of colours. I've got this eye-pleasing red one of database software's Red Arrows for the BBC B and B+. I've never actually played this one. It looks quite nifty from that tiny screenshot. I'll bet it bloody isn't, though. Right, you can go away, because you're just not posh enough. We want the cardboard back. We want things like The Trading Game, which was £7.95 from the... what does that say? Lansdowne Computer Centre. Amazing. From Relax Games. Oh. See, this looks like some sort of old man's aftershave cover or something, doesn't it? Going for the very serious market with this one. All right, what is inside? I'll bet there's a vacuum-formed tray for the tape. Oh, look at that. Yes, there is. What a surprise. And, oh, that's not very exciting, considering the exciting box there. Yeah, I'm betting this is a slightly dull simulation. There's no screenshots on the box, or even in the instructions, which is often a bad sign for this kind of thing. But who knows? I have not played it to tell you. Design and artwork? Side design in Bridgend. Gonna be honest, don't think they spent that long on it. Anyway, that's a bigger cardboard box. What about a bigger plastic case? Well, I'm glad you asked. Look, everyone, it's Spitfire 40. I don't remember seeing a couple of games in this sort of case, but, I mean, there were so many, literally thousands of games released for the Spectrum, and that's just one of the formats that came on tape, so this is by no means an exhaustive look. Yep, I actually had this game back in the day. I remember my dad playing it because he likes aeroplanes. Big problem with this is that they've printed the inlay far too big. Look, the plastic ends here, and it all pokes over the top and gets all tatty and ratty. A bit rubbish, isn't it? Also, changing colour on the spine, dangerous, because look, it hasn't gone in completely straight, and now everything's... oh, it's not mixed. It all looks a bit messy, doesn't it? But there we are. Mirrorsoft Spitfire 40. Yep, not a particularly exciting game, but... it was a simple flight sim, especially because you could play a mode where you didn't even have to take off and it just started you in the sky shooting other aircraft. But inside, oh, here we are. Wow. Bit of a photocopy going on there. Well, that's probably printed actually thinking about it, isn't it? And the whole thing is vacuum formed around your cassette there. And I've just tried to put it in backwards. That helps nobody. But yeah, certainly going to keep your tape safe and certainly look a bit different on the shelf of the shop, which I think is what they're after. But oh wait, we can go bigger. Oh, how we can go bigger. The Evil Crown. £9.95 from the 7 Counties Computers. Mind Games. Yep, it's going to be another strategy one. Another one with one of these cheap bloody plastic covers where it's... I swear these things never were flat. You know, they were always slightly bloody raised like this. Welcome to feudal England. Yeah, I've noticed. These are the screenshots. Icon-driven, a little bit of graphics. Oh, reminds me of Valhalla, if you've ever played that. Sire, the peasants are in revolt. What will you pay the militia? To go and beat the peasants up, presumably, in our year of grace, 1157. Lovely. Bit of a matchstick man assault there going on. Oh, slightly nicer graphics for the old... what's that? There's a joust going on, I think, isn't it? The Evil Crown, an icon-driven animated simulation game of power politics in the Middle Ages. Easy to play, very difficult to beat. In my experience, most of these games were quite difficult to play and almost impossible to beat. But hey, maybe I was young at the time. Again, this whole thing is vacuum formed. Look, and with ridges here so it didn't snap. Ah, quality. The old tape on the right and on the left. Oh, proper manual for this one. Oh, look at this. It's got all your icons in it, look. All your favourites, tax, militia and quit, in that order. Even a little bit of a screenshot. Oh, quite fancy that, isn't it? But yeah, I'm assuming, again, this would have been quite pricey for the time. Well, I'll tell you exactly, it was £9.95. Which, what year is this, 1985? That's, yeah, that is quite pricey. That's like a quid or two more than you would generally be playing for a Spectrum game, or paying even for a Spectrum game. If you were playing for your Spectrum games and using some sort of ad hoc gambling system to get your software, I just don't know what you were doing. Anyway, ready for another one that people are just going to go, oh God, I had hundreds of those. The double tape case. So a lot of games were released on these just because they looked bigger on the shelf, I think. You'll notice they are designed for 2 tapes. They are literally a double tape version of the original cases. But yeah, the single games often released in them. It's like Gauntlet, where you can be Merlin, Thor, Thyra, or Questor. I mean, what more do you want out of life, for crying out loud? God, I played this for bloody hours. My main memory of this is, for some reason, I had a 128K computer, but didn't know to start this game in 128K mode. So we used to play it in 48K. Then one day I started up correctly and all the sounds were much better. And we were very impressed. For 5 minutes, then we just played the games before. Also, you'll notice something creeping in here. Screenshots from other formats. Commodore 64, Amstrad, Spectrum. This is the Spectrum version. It's got 4 screenshots on the back and only 1 are from the version you're actually buying. They eventually went on, well, you'll see later actually, it got so bad that they would just show you screenshots from another version entirely and hope to fool you because they were bastards. But yeah, this was a very common case, had a lot of these. When I was sort of heavily into the Spectrum, this is what most of the games would have been released in. Quick interruption because you might be able to help us out with something, and it won't cost you a penny. That's the best kind of helping. If you would like to see our film Ashens and the Polybius Heist, and perhaps the first film Ashens and the Quest for the Game Child on Netflix, there is actually a page you can go to on Netflix's website and put in suggestions. So if you've got a couple of minutes and you'd like to see them on Netflix, why not go over to the site? It is this address, which I will also link in the description below the video, and just type in Ashens and the Polybius Heist and Ashens the Quest for the Game Child in 2 of the text fields at the bottom, and then we'll see what happens. I've got no idea what'll happen. We've never done it before. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Anyway, tapes. And now some packaging from the space year 1986. I should point out that's not necessarily the year the packaging was introduced. It's just where these particular ones came from in the timeline of our planet. Prestige packaging for big old compilation, the Gold Collection 2. Basically a load of US Gold games that they released in a big box. Look, Kung Fu Master, which wasn't very good on the Spectrum. Beachhead 2, which was alright. Pentagram's pretty good. Bounty Bob, I think that was alright. No, it was very good. And Pole Position was alright, I think. Not a bad compilation. I had the Gold Collection 1, which I seem to recall was slightly higher quality. Can't remember what was on it now. Beachhead 1 was. That makes sense. But yes, you can see a big old box to take your eye, but also, of course, to make you think you're getting more for your money. So not only are you getting a lot of games, but oh, look at this posh packaging. Withstand a bloody thermonuclear explosion, that thing. And it's all properly moulded plastic, look. Even a room for a manual or something to slot in, which I presume it had, but has been lost to the ages. Yeah, very posh indeed. Although the tapes don't seem to stay in it very well, which is something of a problem, I would have said. Yeah, they sort of... it grips them a bit too tightly and they fly out. That doesn't seem particularly good. Maybe you've got to be really careful lining up the little spokes there or something. I don't know. But prestige packaging. You didn't see much of this, but when you did, oh, you knew you were probably going to have to pay more for it. Also, prestige packaging could be used for evil. This is World Cup Carnival. Oh, look, it's PK. Oh, I remember getting a little model one of those in a Kinder Egg. What days they were. Yeah, officially given 0% by an Amstrad magazine, if I remember. This is the Spectrum version. There's a long story to this, but basically it's a FIFA-branded game. Look, yep, for the Mexico World Cup in 1986. All your soccer and your football and all that. There's the Jules Rimet trophy. Oh, look at that. Pity the game's crap. The game is, in fact, a re-release of an earlier game, because the game that was being made, something went wrong during the development process and it wasn't going to be ready, so they just bought. What on earth is that? I didn't find out what it was. It's something in a drawer that just randomly went off. Ah, my God. Does that happen to normal people? I hope not. Anyway, where were we? Yes, we were saying how they basically re-released, and I think it was Arctic Soccer or something, like a really bad football game from a few years before that was shit at the time, and then re-released it pretending it was a different game, and it was evil. But look, they put it in a big, expensive prestige box, didn't they? Oh, there was a load of crap in here, actually. Oh, it's all still in there. Look, here we are. You've got your weird patch to put on your coat, because you want your coat to have that on it for some reason. All your instructions, some sort of competition where you've got to guess who was going to win the World Cup. Massive charts to put on your wall. Look, bloody hell, there's everything in here. Everything except the tape. Oh, wait, here it is. Did it come with stickers to put on one of these things? Oh, somebody actually did have this on their wall. Look, the blue tack. Tell you what, let's have a quick look, just a matter of interest. Oh, yes. I can't help feeling that goalie's gloves are against regulations. Yeah, some sort of information-y sort of poster. And then also, here we go. You can write it. Oh, look, somebody did. They did write in the stuff. Oh, my God. So look, they had it on their wall, and they put in all the results. Look at that, 2-1 to Mexico versus Belgium. Yeah. Mexico versus Paraguay, 1-1. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, bless. Somebody had some fun. That's good, because they have had piss all fun with this absolutely abysmal excuse for a game. Right, in you go. And we shall put you away. Never to think of you again, unless I do a video about it in the future. Now, we're talking about prestige packaging. How about ultra prestige packaging? To the extent that they actually had custom packaging made for a specific game. It happened a couple of times. The one I remember is Nexus. Oh, look, it's like a silver chocolate bar. I'm sure I've shown this in a video before. Yeah, I mean, it's got Nexus printed on it. You won't be using this for any other games. And I think it's supposed to be like some sort of data device. It looks a bit like the wafer brain from the Terminator films. So remove the clip. Yes, it's that weird. And it opens up. And there's your instructions. And there's your tape. Nice and simple. Copyright Nexus Productions Limited, 1986. I seem to remember this game wasn't actually that good, but the case is interesting. Nothing else ever used it. Obviously, it says Nexus on it. What else could use it? You'd have to write another game called Nexus. What they should have done is called their company Nexus. You see, that would have worked, but they didn't, so that's the end of that. You have a mission to smash the drugs ring which kidnapped your friend. Okay, then. Can I have the silver chocolate bar as well? Is that in the game? Anyway, very, very pretty and all that kind of stuff. Then, boxes. Boxes got, a bit sort of bigger and generally more cardboardy. So you had these kind of interim boxes. This one is an MSX version. Specific reason I'm showing you this in a minute. Sort of big and flat. Not quite as big as the boxes they used to put the 16-bit games, like the Amiga and Atari ST stuff in. But open it up and look. A gigantic posh man. Look at this. My God. It's like printed on cardboard. It's so stiff you can barely read it. It's sort of 2 quality. You've got some sort of map on fake parchment paper. Look, I've got no idea if this game's any good or not, actually. And 3 bloody tapes. 3 tapes for your MSX. 1988 seems quite late for an MSX game, was it? Don't know, my MSX history isn't amazing, but you could join the nationwide quest to find the Holy Grail worth... Ooh! That's interesting. Tokens for clues. Right, that's interesting. I wasn't aware of this one as a sort of win money by playing the game type thing. 4 preliminary contests. 30... Right, I'm going to look into that and see if anybody ever won it. There's probably no information on it whatsoever and everyone forgot about it. That's how these things often go. One of the reasons I've got this, though... Wait for it. The screenshots! Don't they look amazing for the MSX? Level 9 state-of-the-art adventure pass. Oh, it's a text adventure. Yeah. Screenshots from Atari ST version. A 16-bit computer with sort of many, many, many more colours on the screen than the MSX. You see? It's just evil. Evil, I tell you. I wonder if the Atari ST game came in an identical box. I would say yes. And just with a different sticker here, because this is literally just something they've stuck on afterwards. Vile and evil. Don't give screenshots of versions of the game you haven't bought. Anyway, going back to screenshots of games you haven't bought, this sort of overtook the double tape case as packaging in the latter days of my Spectrum game buying anyway. This is the horrible Double Dragon 3, the Rosetta Stone. When people talk of DLC and microtransactions and stuff, this game had them in the arcade. If you wanted to buy a weapon like a baseball bat or something for your character to use, you had to put an actual coin in the arcade machine. And then you got hit twice and dropped it, it disappeared, if I remember. It's not a good game. It's not very much like Double Dragon 1 or 2. In the end, you fight like a wizard in a void, which always seemed a bit off-brand for Double Dragon to me. The toughest just got tougher, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But inside, you would have your... Oh, God. Just literally a photocopy from Software City. Presumably that's where it was bought from, mail order. It's got the returns process on it. Here's your fold-out manual in 497 different languages. Bit of a warranty card, blah, blah. And just the tape rattling around in the box. No plastic or anything. They were all like this, just literally loose in the box. Yeah, because they're not really going to get that damaged by rattling around, I suppose was their principle. But yeah, this was a very common box size for full-price game releases back in the late 80s, which, would have been about £10? But then, tragically, as with all things, they eventually gave up completely, and especially for the bigger expensive games, you just got the 16-bit game box. See, this is a game box size which the Amiga and the Atari ST used a lot, and it's just a Spectrum version, not even a sticker. It's actually printed like this. Maybe it was to give it a bit more prestige as well, this Heroes of the Lance game. I had this actually on the Atari ST, which, these are all Atari ST screenshots again. Evil. The Spectrum version looks very much not like that. But yeah, it was quite genuinely just... I mean, this tape's in a bag. They weren't even all in bags, just rattling around. So many of later games I bought were in these giant boxes like that. There you go. Well, I mean, it'll look pretty on the shelf, but... just don't like your tape rattling around. Seems unnecessary. And there we go. That was a quick look through some of the many, and a non-exhaustive look, there are others, of the many different bloody cases you got tapes in. But wait, we got a few more. Because when you got into the realms of business software, yes, that did exist on tape for 8-bit micros, and, well, the educational software, all bets were off. For instance, Screenplay, the professional touch. Complete book and software pack. I'm not even sure how you open this. I think there's a big flap at the top. That'll be easy then. And in here you've got your tape and your massive manual, because you had to have a massive manual for your professional software with your incredibly nicely printed manual here. Look at all that. So basically... this explains to you how you write a screenplay and has software to let you write a screenplay. I would not want to write one of my screenplays on ZX Spectrum software from 1985 myself, but hey, to each his own. But there we are, just a big random cardboard box they put it in, because this stuff was pretty expensive. Well, not this one. I don't know if this came years later. I can't imagine this was released at £4.99. Not in that box, but who knows. Now, looking, as we say, at proper educational stuff, they could come in bloody anything. Quite often, in massive packs with big old pretty books and stuff for the kids to look at. Like, for instance, Punctuation Pete. Here he is, being punctuation-y. You're right, lads. Learn your punctuation or I'll stamp on your bloody face. Yeah, you need to see why he didn't catch on. This is mastering the micro, apparently. I wonder if this was a mail order thing, my God, rather than actually something that's sold to schools. But it has that sold to school feel. Massive book, look. Full colour, loads of photographs, blah, 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 blah. Very, very reminiscent of your textbooks for young kids at the time. Slot that back in there. And a big bit of polystyrene. Great. How to load the programme. Yeah, that looks like things that a teacher might have needed to know in the 80s. Yes. You will need a computer, a cassette recorder and a TV set. Going to be honest, people probably would have known that before they handed over the money. And with a hole cut in the polystyrene, there is quite simply a case with no inlay. Thanks, Punctuation Pete. Thanks for teaching us all about puncture. I've got no idea. I've never heard of this before in my life. Right, get in there. My God, the size of it's bloody massive. And here's another quick one. Learning box. Look, it's the Magic Shop. I can use money. Software for kids up to 8. So there's a couple of real people and a terrifying cartoon spider-bearing wizard or something for your Spectrum 48K. And if you haven't guessed, it's a VHS case. It's just a white VHS case. But look, you've got your storybook, story tape, parents book, overlay, and computer program. My God. So if we open this up, yeah, it's all still in here, look. So it's quite genuinely just a VHS tape. Look, that's where your tape would go normally. It even says V2000 VHS. My God, it's one of those triple cases. I don't know if you can make that out because they're embossed. So this would take tapes for a VHS, Betamax, or Video 2000. Wow. But it also says Learning Box embossed on it. So, clearly Learning Box were doing videos as well. Right, put the old vacuum-formed plastic back in. And look, fit over your Spectrum's keys so the kids would be able to see which ones were 1p, 2p, 10p or whatever to pay in the Magic Shop. This looks like something that would only work on the original 48K Spectrum. A pity, because Spectrums had various different keyboards and different models. So that's a bit of a problem. The Young Magician. Is this the storybook? Oh, yes. Yeah, amazing. Nice. And The Parent's Guide. Hang on. There's only one tape, so how does that work? Side B and side A. So is side A the story and side B the program? I say. Does it tell us on the back? Yes, it is. Look, story tape is side A of cassette. Computer program is side B. See, it looked like you were getting two tapes. You lied to me, 5 Ways Software Limited of Arrow, Conway Street, London, and I'll never believe in you ever again. Good job you went bust like 30 years ago, probably. Anyway, that will do. If you do have any more particularly interesting cases for your tapes, please send them to me and I'll sell them on eBay. Ah, well, now that the cassette is a completely defunct format, nobody ever again has to think of how you would package one for video games. Oh my God, this was only released a few days ago. It's happening again. It's happening again. There is no escape. It's USB, but it's still a tape form factor. Right, this is really going to confuse somebody one day.
Subscribe for more.